Hey everybody, welcome to the Elseworlds Exchange. I am joined today by the indomitable Chip Zdarsky. I just picked a fun adjective. I don't know.
I'm for it. I like it. It's much better
Can't
than
be
most
stopped.
adjectives people use for me.
Describing you. How have you been, dude?
Getting used to the big city. We lived in the woods, and now I'm in the city for a little bit, and it scares me.
Sure.
It all scares me. I'm just terrified of everything.
Yeah, it's like being a small dog in the city. It's just loud noises and,
So many loud noises.
Right? Constantly. I'm like, what are you doing out there?
And we're living we're living most of the time on this like really tiny island in British Columbia.
Okay.
900 people live there, and we are in the woods. And at night, it's just black.
Right.
It's just pitch black, and there's no noise except for the frogs when they start.
Oh, yeah.
When they start up at 11 o'clock, that's something. But being back, I'm like,
how does anyone get asleep?
Yeah, street lights coming in the window and all the noises and trains and people honking and partying. I'm an old man now. I just need to live in the woods with my axe. And
your axe? Do you actually chop wood?
I don't chop down trees.
No, but
I split logs and stuff for kindling in the winter.
That's so cool.
Which makes me feel like so macho,
right? No, as a non-macho man myself, when we go camping, I love chopping, and it's so easy. Like that's the big secret is like it really is effortless. Like the axe does all the work, but you feel like you're really doing something.
I know, and then starting a fire is just like
yeah, there's nothing more primal.
It's
nothing
true.
more primal than starting fires and splitting wood. So, yeah. Let's talk about comic books.
No. Let's talk about
keep talking about being men in the woods. But yeah, man. So when last we spoke, you were really excited about this whole Substack thing. It was really going to be taken off, and it seems that it's really emboldened you to kind of cordon off your entire brand into like what Zdarsky is and does. It's just like, yo, I'm not going to a convention again. I'm not going to a signing. I'm not going to fucking anything. I'm going to the woods. And when I'm done, I come back here. I sign books. I do my
I'm not going to dance for you anymore.
No, it's over. No more. You are no longer the corporate shill you once were. And of course, I'm joking because you never really were in the first place. But
well, I'm still shilling, but I'm just shilling in a very specific location.
That's right. Yeah, shilling at home. Shilling from home.
Shilling from home. Yeah.
Thanks, pandemic. But no, it's fantastic. I get weekly emails from Zdarsky, which
from Zdarsky,
hilarious. But also is really the name of your company, though.
It really is, yeah. I mean, I think most comic creators, when they have to start a company, they're just like, "What am I going to do?" And then they come up with something ludicrous, and next thing you know, they have to explain it to the bank teller every time they go in.
Exactly. They're like, "Well, I like Back to the Future too, Biffco. What am I?
It's true.
I'm a comic book person. LexCorp, Chip Corp.
Yeah. Oh, I should have gone Chip Corp.
It's going to be one or the other.
Yeah.
But it's been going great, and it's been giving you an opportunity to really like exercise. Like, it's fun to watch because I used to do a blog myself, and I remember like trying to train myself to write, and I love seeing that exercise because you write professionally, and you are unstoppable because you've been doing just nonstop creator-owned and big two work for at least the last decade, if not more. I mean, I know it's been more, but like nonstop. Like it hasn't been like, oh, I did this and then I take a break or I do this, then the other.
I mean, since Sex Criminals came out, and that was 2013, so we're coming up on
10 years,
almost 10 years. Christ.
Yeah. But it's fun to see like you're kind of like playing with the narrative and being like, oh, and it reminds me, it's shades of the breakdown pages from Marvel where it used to be like, here's the context for the thing, but you wrote those yourself.
Which one? Wait, like
like Howard the Duck, Spiderman, Spectacular Spider-Man, where it would be like this little breakdown of what happened in the last issue right before the next.
I didn't write those.
You didn't write those?
No, maybe I did on Howard, but I didn't do it on Spider-Man. And it's funny because a lot of people thought I did.
I did think that
they were written in a really kind of fun. No, I mean you didn't know, like in a fun, jokey voice, and I think those were written by the assistant editors. I think that was their task.
Oh, cool.
And a lot of that was just because it's funny because they also want me almost on every comic I do. They're like, "Oh, do you want to like answer the letters on the letters page?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, no."
Well, no.
Like, I've got to write the comics. Like,
yeah, and then I got to read letters and respond to them. Forget it.
Yeah, and it's funny because like in Stillwater, Ramon does it, so it's even more glaring that I'm not doing it because the artist is doing it. I'm like, yeah. Partly because I never actually read the letters pages either.
Yeah, you've mentioned. I saw you did a show with Scott Snyder the other day.
Yeah.
In a mutual snake eating its tail Substack promotional engine.
Yeah.
that that was fun because I loved when he asked you. Just recapping the show now. Now we're just going to do commentary on that. But no, he asked you a question about about fan reaction and public opinion. You're doing Batman, and that's got to be daunting. You're like, not really. I don't read any of the comments, and I don't read reviews, so I don't really care.
Yeah, like once in a while, one will kind of slip by.
Sure.
Because I still have to go on Twitter and like post a thing, or I'll get like a
DM or something.
A Google alert or a DM. I'll just be, oh yeah, okay, I'll read the headline of the thing. But yeah, I think that way lies madness.
Oh yeah,
I really think it does because like you don't want to tailor your work toward critical reaction.
Absolutely.
I always remember there was like I forget their names, Gilbert and George, something like that. There were these artists who were like kind of performance artists, and they set out years ago to create the most perfect landscape you've like painting ever.
Oh, okay.
And so what they did was they asked the public to fill out forms and figure out what makes a perfect landscape, and then they painted it, and it's just a bland landscape. Like that's the thing. Like, what's the perfect painting? And people agreed landscape. Okay, what's the perfect landscape? And I always think of that when it comes to writing, because it's like you could really let it infect you.
Yeah.
And like I don't know. Frankly, some readers are really smart, some readers are really stupid, and like there's no getting around that. Like no one has 100% smart readers who are just like, here's a criticism that is actually very accurate and will actually help you. Like, on some projects you'll have more of those than you'll have of the other, but if you try to weed through it all to try and figure out what is legit,
right, it'll overwhelm you.
Yeah, it's just too much. So the letters page is kind of like that for me as well. Like, I don't even want to hear the good, because the good just makes you think like, look at me, I can do it all, and I'm amazing. Like, that doesn't help.
No.
Which is weird, because then you're really just working in a vacuum. Like it used to be, at least when I was doing conventions. You go to conventions, you meet people, and people are really nice, and it gives you a nice ego boost on the other end of it. Now I don't have that. Like,
right.
I don't have. I mean, maybe my ego doesn't need it, but like, I don't have the. Somebody asked me the other day if writing Batman's been fun. They were like, "Yeah, I hope you're at least having fun doing it." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm enjoying writing the scripts and seeing the art and stuff, but like, because I'm not going to get the reaction, I'm not going to have that kind of like, oh yeah, like people love it, this is great." Because I'm just going to be like, okay, if people love it, great. If people don't like it, okay, that's fine. Like DC will figure out what to do with me.
Right.
If they want to keep me or get rid of me. And talking to Scott really drove something home, because he talked about like how at the time he was getting so much negative feedback. He was getting positive, but the negative would come through too. Like, he made Jim Gordon Batman. Like, what are you, nuts?
What a stupid idea now.
and like I
thought it was cool. Yeah.
I mean, all of it was just like, at every stage there were people who were just like, you're doing 0 Year, you're doing Batman Origin, like, what is this? You're living in Miller's shadow kind of stuff.
Oh, sure.
But as time goes on, retroactively, people look at that work and be like, this is the best Batman run of all time.
Yeah.
And there'll still be a few outliers that don't think that, but like, there's also a problem of listening to people during the moment. If you listen to them during the moment, you're getting people commenting on a story that's not finished. And reacting from their gut, and it's like, well, maybe in 5 years you're gonna reread this, or someone's gonna pick it up and be like, well, this is the best.
Yeah, and that's like, I've noticed that it is so, you can tell when stories are written against the tapestry of public opinion and letting it influence, even just subconsciously, the writer or the creator's work. You can feel when a story goes like, oh, they're not liking it, and then they go another direction, and it completely and now no one likes it. because now it's for nobody, right? And it's just I think about the older books, like the olden days, where it was like all you got was letters. So and they weren't addressed to you because you weren't stupid enough to put your full name on the internet and like have direct contact. So back in the day, you write your stories, write your scripts. Maybe you're like 2 years out in story, and you just get these letters in, and like your editor would just show you the nicest ones. That's the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, some editors would show you the not nice ones too.
Well, maybe if they were trying to make a point.
Yeah, I love to screw with the creators, but obviously, different times and all that.
Yeah.
But you also didn't have the thing of people reacting to a thing coming up.
Right.
Like when I was a kid, like you bought the comic, and at most you had a next issue blurb.
Right.
That's it, unless you went out and bought like Marvel Age or whatever, and like there'd be some sort of sneak peek.
Yeah.
But now it's like people can just like lose their minds over a solicitation.
Yep.
Or what I find happens more often than not is they're spoiling the story for themselves by being so invested in what's coming up that when they finally read it, it's like, this is so obvious. I'm like, of course it's obvious. You knew it was happening. Like you.
Yeah. Yeah, and you read and you live and you breathe and you understand like what story is. So it's like if you know what the first part is and you can see what the next part is, you can probably anticipate what the third part is. Like,
yeah, and like this is the hardest part of the promotion. Like DC, DC wants sales. I get that.
Sure.
I enjoy sales, but sometimes in the promotion of a thing, they spoil things.
Yeah.
And then people get upset over like bits and pieces in the promo stuff.
Yeah.
And when they finally read it, they're going to be disappointed or not. Like I think I talked to you last time just about like the Daredevil Electra reveal.
Right.
And how we kept that as a surprise. So basically everyone loved it.
Yeah.
But if we had teased it and been like, who's the new Daredevil? And everyone had their ideas in their head about who's going to be.
Yes.
Then like 90% of people are disappointed with what the result is.
Exactly.
And so you run that risk, DC's put out some really cool videos.
Yeah.
But there's stuff being spoiled in it, and like, I'm just like, oh fuck, like I just know it's gonna bite us in the ass because people are just gonna be like, what's this? What's that?
Yeah, but you'll never know because you won't read it. So
it's true, but I still get Google alerts, so I know like when Screen Rant has done one of their fucking Screen Rant articles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Zdarsky,
three Jokers are back, and here's why that's a problem.
I love when someone says, here's why that's a problem, and I'm like, for whom? Like, it's never been a problem. I actually that Three Jokers thing really killed me because I was like, what a cool idea, because I thought that DC was so like done with it that it was never going to be a thing again. Oh boy. But then I was like, oh man, I think I would have rather seen that in the book.
Yeah, same here. Like I don't know these things until they go live, and it's like, so it's a real push and pull. Like, I've managed to convince the marketing team to not
give it all away.
To not give it all away. Like, like by my count in the first issue, there were 3 kind of surprises.
Okay.
4, I guess, technically, if you count the Three Jokers thing.
Jokers, yeah.
And a lot of it is just like the long story, like setting up things that come down the line. And they've been good with that. Like even just the design of like Failsafe, who's kind of our big bad. I'm just like, let's like black him out on the covers, and like I don't want people to get used to it.
Right.
So when he shows up, it's just like, oh yeah, that guy.
Right, the guy that they've been teasing for the last half year. Like,
no, I know guy who's just 3 Jokers in an alien's body. Oh shit!
Oh no!
Oh fuck! I did it.
We're live. Okay, let's take questions from the audience.
And why that's a problem.
And why that's a problem. Such a problem. I love that. So you writing Batman, writing Daredevil, obviously, tonally similar in terms of like brooding street level characters, but sales wise, Daredevil is a book that it's yours to lose because it's just, it's doing good, right? Like it's a good book. It's just going, but it's not like it's not so that everyone's like, we got to fix Daredevil now that it's being this huge fucking juggernaut. We gotta get our mitts into it, change it up, and make sure that it continues to set. Like, I don't know. I feel like Daredevil is this book that you're just kind of like allowed to do what you want to do, and it doesn't have to, you know, Devil's Reign being the only real thing that kind of like got bigger, because I think, can you talk about like how Devil's Reign became like an event? Because it feels like it could have been just the next arc of Daredevil, and somebody said, but this could get bigger. We could.
I mean, originally it was like in the initial pitch, it was smaller, but most of the beats were kind of still there.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, when I pitched that to the room, everyone's like really excited. But I think, you know, CV and the sales people were just like, oh, this feels bigger.
Yeah.
And so it kind of got moved up to like a mini event. Because like, oh, maybe you could like rope in some of the street level heroes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, that works well. Like, so I started to kind of like work a plot that kind of involved all the street level heroes. And then as I did that, they were like, oh, this actually feels even bigger than that. So it kind of moved up to an event.
Cool.
Which is, you know, it's a weird thing for Daredevil. And, you know, my concern is that, I don't know, I don't necessarily like rebooting things and like, but, you know, here we are, you know. It's going to be hard because in my mind, it's issue, let's see, 36 plus the 5. So all Devil's Reign would have been to 41. So this is like issue 42 of Daredevil in my mind. And it's going to read a bit like that as well. Like, I've tried to like kind of catch readers up who are maybe just like, oh, I'm finally going to jump into Daredevil. But really, we're paying off so many things
that kind of were in the Daredevil book. Yeah.
And that kind of happened during Devil's Reign that there's no way of avoiding it. I mean, no regrets or anything, but
no.
Devil's Reign just kind of like spiraled and became this big thing, and like Marco did an amazing job, and Marvel was great in allowing him to do the whole thing.
Yeah,
because like, you know, a lot of times with the event books, like sometimes you gotta get a second artist in, especially as the issues got bigger.
Right.
And he just like he was so great on it. And I tried to take it a little bit easy on Daredevil. I'm like, no, 1 million heroes, not yet. Right. Anyways, it's been wild.
Well, and I love how it got big to the point of being an event, but also when it's over, you immediately went, oh, okay, like everything come back, like everything get back to where it was. Man, that's one of the things that I love about reading a Chip Zdarsky book is that you can see that, you know, it's like you're outthinking your audience, where you're like, I know where you think this is going, and then whoop, and it's still satisfying even though it's a subversion. Like,
and you know, that's my hope.
Right, like the whole
marketing doesn't ruin it.
Fuck it up. Right, with Kingpin, for example, like the whole setup is Kingpin going to run for president. Obviously, we're going to do like an allegory, and we're going to do this whole thing, and we're going to spread it out. Daredevil's going to get bigger, and it's going to get this national hero. And Kingpin, what's the impact? What's Dr. Doom going to think about King? And then it's like, nope, get on a boat. The end. Boom. Over. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's amazing. The Mike Murdock reveal and the setup, just like, because you did the Daredevil One More Day issue, which is hilarious. Just great use of the title, and then the Nornstone use, and it's all just like, it's a retcon that is so aware it is a retcon that like it's about them, and it's like, man, that's it. And then to that the moment when, I think because it was spoiled in the Daredevil.
That's the unfortunate one. Well, that was my fault.
But it didn't even matter, because when you read it, you were like, well, I know who's dead. It ain't Matt. Just great, just so fun, and still a satisfying place.
I'm glad we could keep those things relatively secret. Especially knowing. I mean, we knew a long time ago that these kind of beats were going to happen. And being able to like, subvert those expectations. Eventually, you know, I kind of worry I'm going to become a writer where people are going to go, oh, is it going to be this, or is he going to subvert it again? But that's, I mean, those are always the most satisfying kind of reveals, right?
Right, absolutely. So with Batman, now my question is, because you're still doing Daredevil.
Yeah.
Was there any if you can talk about this, pushback or easy or kind of like, where I'm writing the book that pretty much, it's the rising tide that keeps everything afloat in terms of the big two comic book industry.
Yes, as Scott reminded me.
I know, no pressure or anything, but and also like a primary Marvel character who's like getting a TV show and he's appeared in the biggest Spider-Man movie of all time. Like, there's a lot of exposure. There's a lot of light on these characters. Whereas maybe like 10 years ago, there might've been kind of like a lot of, a lot of grumbling and mumbling about like, oh, why is he doing both? No, I want to keep him over here. It seems like there's more of like, it's more copacetic.
Yeah. I mean, there's better relations between Marvel and DC right now. I think, and like, I don't know. I like the rivalry. I think when Axel was in charge and DiDio was in charge, like, those are a couple of New York publishing boys, eh?
Yeah.
and they like, it was a competition. It was
right.
But also kind of on the other end of the pandemic, it just feels like less of a competition because we're all just like, oh my God, like everyone just kind of came together, just trying to like keep everything afloat. And I think, CB and Marie, they're genuinely nice people.
Right.
And that helps a lot. Like it was actually a kind of a touching thing. Like last month, I got the invite to the next Marvel Summit.
Sure.
And I'm just like, but I'm writing Batman. Hey, I remember emailing or texting CB about that. And he's like, oh, but we like you. Like,
right. Well, and you still work there. Like it's not like you left. It wasn't like I'm fuck Marvel Comics. I'm going to DC, and they went, well, could you please still come to the summits? You have really good ideas.
Well, back in the day, it was you could own, like, the reason I signed a contract with Marvel was because you were only allowed to do those retreats if you were contracted.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I mean, that's what they said at the time. Like,
okay,
there was always exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what really got me to sign up, because I really wanted to try those.
Yeah.
But then, when I shifted and I ended up having a contract that was non-exclusive, I kind of expected that to end. But they're like, no, it'll still come. I'm like, oh, great. But then when I got like Batman and like,
you feel like that was going to be the more like the tipping point.
Yeah, because at that point I'm privy to a lot more information about
what
the DC universe and what's coming up. That would be weird for me to be in the Marvel room.
Yeah.
And they say, like, okay, well, like, what if I was doing, Fisk as president?
Yeah.
And or someone else is going to do Fisk as president, and I'm sitting there in a Marvel meeting, and I know that like Lex Luthor is going to be president again or something. Like another bald guy. I'm just like, do I tell Marvel to not do this?
Yeah.
Do I tell DC that Marvel's doing it? Like, like it's not a good position to be in. And so even though I really, really like everyone at Marvel and the other creators, and those can be a lot of fun and generate like cool ideas, I was just like, I can't. Like, so I would feel I told them I would feel bad. Like, I gave them my outline for basically the rest of Daredevil.
Okay.
Everything, like, this
you have the whole plan all laid out.
Yeah, this is like I've got it issue by issue, beat by beat. I've run it through different offices that it might, connect to, and everyone has signed off on it. So at this point, like doing those retreats, maybe when it gets presented, I could have had, maybe some better ideas or solutions from Hickman to like solve some of my bad story beats. But I'll also probably get those just kind of through my editor, who's going to be in those meetings.
That's true. That's true.
There's always, there's always the danger of not being in one of those retreats and having your story written for you.
Really?
I've seen it happen. Like, it's always for the better.
Yeah.
Like, an editor will be presenting a thing because the writer's not there, and then a writer be like,
I love that.
Oh, no, not taking it, but like, oh, that's cool, but what if they did this instead?
Gotcha.
And everyone just starts spitballing, and you can see the panic on the editor's face. Because
like,
they're like,
here.
Fuck, like I gotta relay this. So I've seen that happen, and like I said, it's usually for the better, but it's also just painful.
That's
knowing
nerve-wracking. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and so that might happen to me. Maybe I'll get my editor be like, "Hey, so we talked about your book, and anyways, so Daredevil should die."
Right.
Like,
Elektra's a mutant.
oh,
She's going to Krakoa. That's the end of it. Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I'll miss doing the Marvel meetings, and hey, who knows? Down the line, I might end up back there. But
well, now they're all on Zoom, so really, you could just bomb in and be like, "Hey, folks, it's me. Here's Daredevil. Later."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny because I did my first like DC one of these.
Yeah.
Like kind of a Zoom meeting with just a handful of writers who doing like the big titles.
Yep.
And yeah, that was interesting just because I don't think DC's done those in a while.
No, I've heard that they've done them for the Bat offices.
Yeah.
For a while, but yeah, that because of the pandemic, it has normalized the like, let's all get together and discuss and meet and plan.
Yeah,
and
I think
like,
pre 5G there was like a big one where people had flown him, but I think that was mostly just like DC works a little differently from Marvel back then. Like, I think that was mostly like telling people what's happening.
That's exactly right.
So yeah, I mean Marvel's a bit more. I mean DC's collaborative, but Marvel's I think a bit more collaborative.
Sure.
Just kind of based on its history with those kind of meetings.
Stories, yeah.
Yeah.
So with Batman, can you tell us a little bit about getting on Batman? Because I remember when we were talking, when we've talked and when you've done interviews and such in the past, you chat about like your reticence to talk to cover kind of like higher profile characters because of the the nature of it. And then and I remember it was on our show you said, but unless it was Batman, and then I guess I'd do it. Now but I guess the rubber really met the road when they called you and were like, it's Batman, and you're like, oh, I guess nice, I'm still gonna do it.
I kind of turned them down at first.
Did you really? You were like, nah.
I mean,
because you did Urban Legends for a while, so you kind of were working on Batman. But
I was in the middle. I don't think I'd finished writing Urban Legends when they contacted me about it. I still had another script to send in, I think, and I was a few ahead on the night. But I had just signed a Substack deal,
right?
Like maybe a week before, and that was a big decision because I'm like, oh, part of that means I have to write and draw a new book.
Yeah.
Like my plan was to do public domain in like end of 2023, maybe 2024, like once I wrapped out of a lot of Marvel stuff. So I got it. I remember my wife and I living in the woods. I got an email from Ben Abernathy and Marie Javins. Ben is the Batman group editor, and it was basically like, "Hey, we'd love to hop on a Zoom with you tomorrow. Would that be cool?" And I remember just like looking at my wife and going, "Oh fuck." She's like, "What?" I'm like, "I think they're gonna offer me Batman." I was just like,
"What are you talking about? That's great."
I almost started crying because I'm just like, it's too much work. And so when I got on the Zoom with them, they were like, "Oh, you're probably wondering why we called you here." And I'm like, "Please don't offer me Batman." Like I actually said, "Please don't." And they laughed. They're like, "Well, yeah, so we're in a situation right now because James is going to wrap out of Batman because
Substack."
Because they didn't say Substack, but I knew Substack.
You knew.
Like they're like, he's got a big commitment, and I'm like, yeah, I know because I just signed that big commitment as well.
Right.
So we kind of left it at like I had to go and I had to think about it, and I told them like I kind of need I need more time because James is leaving pretty quickly, wrapping up his commitment quickly, and I had just started Devil's Reign.
Right.
Like, I'm doing an event. Like, I can't be like doing the event and Batman at the same time. So we had a situation where they were like, okay, we can buy some time. And what that ended up being was Josh had a story he wanted to tell.
Yeah.
And so that worked out really well. But also, Jorge was supposed to be going off to do something else as well.
Right.
But then, like a couple of months later, he was like, "Oh, that thing fell through, so I'm here to draw Batman now." I'm like, "Oh shit!" So like, I wrote my first Batman script a long, long time ago. As a result, I'm like, "Oh, everything's colliding anyway," so I just got to lean into it and be like, "All right, we'll see how this goes." So yeah, that's how it happened. Like, I think I really like working with Ben, and I worked with him on The Night.
Yeah,
he's my primary editor on that. Oh, thanks. And then Urban Legends was with Jess, and she enjoyed working with me. And I think, you know, a lot of it is just like they saw I could do the modern take,
right,
and kind of make him kind of scary and like, you know, kind of a classic kind of Batman feel.
Yeah,
gritty. They liked the dynamics that I could write between him and like Jason Todd.
Yeah,
and I think that's what sold them, and also the fact that like I deliver scripts on time. You know, knock on wood. It's yeah.
Oh, sure. As a lot of people will attest, that is such a big part of making it in the industry, is just being on time, just getting it in. Like if you can deliver pages, if you can deliver on time, like that is a big part of it. So.
Yeah, like, you know, they always say in freelance, you know, you need 2 of the 3 things.
Right.
Which, you know, on time,
cheap, or
no, it was like on time,
like fast, good, and cheap,
quality work, and pleasant.
Oh,
to deal
okay.
with.
Yeah, I guess freelancing, that makes sense. Because I was thinking about like, how art, it's like you can get it good, cheap, or fast, but you can't have all 3.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think that's the freelancer thing, and I think, you know, I won't speak to good or not. I think that's for others to decide.
To judge, yeah.
But you know, I'm pleasant to deal with, and I deliver the work on time.
Right.
Which frankly goes a long way, because I've seen a lot of people just kind of blow out their careers by
not being one of those 2. Or
but being dicks, or like, you know, or leaving their editor, you know,
in a lurch.
Hanging.
Yeah.
Or worse, the artist, like leave an editor hanging, sure, but an artist, like. Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits of the fact that, like, you know, I'm an artist.
Yeah.
Who's, you know, had to wait for scripts before, and it's like it's not a good feeling.
No,
because that's how you get paid.
You just have to catch up. It's still, the deadline's still coming.
Yeah, exactly.
I know we're kind of bouncing around a bit, but I noticed we didn't get a chance to talk about public domain. You know, you scratched the surface a little bit, so we should talk about it, because first issue's coming out in print. And it's a great series. I've been lucky enough to read most of it. I haven't gotten issue 4 yet, but I'm getting there.
Slowly but surely, you can do it, Sal.
Yeah,
I believe in you.
I just no. The reality is you didn't send it to me yet. But you did.
Oh no, it should be there in that Dropbox link that I sent you.
Shit! I don't check those. When I get them, I just check them and then move on. I didn't realize those things get updated.
Yeah,
but you're doing it now. You're like, all right, here we go. But yeah, man, public domain. Where does it come from? I mean, it's so obvious where it comes from. This is like one of those, like, tell us about public to sell people on public domain. But no, really, like it's one of the best meta comics of the decade, because it's about comics, it's about the industry, it's about the world that the industry has affected and now is affecting it. You know, because it's about having a character that has been manipulated into an IP that is a major motion picture and a franchise, and the franchise influence. It's just, so go ahead, please.
Well, I mean, it's about culture, really. Right? I don't really see this being meta, maybe just because I've done meta too many times where I'm actually in the story.
That's right, yeah, which is such a good issue of Crossover, by the way.
Oh, cool, thanks. I wanted to make sure that, you know, I wasn't highlighting a specific creator, but maybe an amalgamation of creators. Like the story is about a family where the dad, Sid Dallas, back in the late 70s, created a comic book superhero character, or is the artist of, that has since gone on to become the biggest thing in the world.
Yep.
Like the pop culture character, the Batman, the Captain America, what have you.
Yeah.
And he's fine with it.
Right.
Which I think is like kind of the twist. Like he's not like
bitter and
but it's his son who has that feeling, and possibly his wife.
Right.
And then the other brother who's just like, no, he's happy, man.
Right.
Imagine creating a thing that brings joy to people, and you had a decent career, and you had to say enough for your little retirement. Sure, extra money would be good, but the guy's happy. He's happy to make people happy. Yeah. And also, I want to highlight that there could be a disconnect between the older creator and the younger creator, where the older creator is like, oh, when we made it, like there were no such thing as like, you didn't get stuff. Like, it would show up in a lunchbox. Nobody thought like, oh, I should be getting a nickel for every lunchbox. Like,
exactly.
Maybe a few did. Whereas now people are a lot more cognizant of how much money is being made and what creators' rights are, and because of kind of the fights throughout the 80s, Neil Adams, who passed away, was like a huge champion for advocate, stuff like getting your art back. It just wasn't a thing, right?
Which
like
blew my mind. I didn't even know that was a thing. Like I heard, did you see that story? It was a McFarlane TikTok or something where the top left corner that he drew of Spider-Man upside down?
Yeah.
Some intern found that. Like at Marvel, and they sent it back to him.
Amazing.
I'm like, I mean, I first of all, what a hero that intern is for giving it back, not just being like. But
like, is that a recent intern?
Yeah, like within the last 2 years. Well, so probably their editor or something like that.
or passed on.
They probably interns. Died. Yeah. No. Yeah. But yeah, man. The idea of not getting your art back is something it's a relatively new thing where I'm like, yeah. Well, you go to cons and you see like these reams of pages, and I'm like, why do you have them? Like,
yeah.
Like, how come the artist doesn't immediately get that back? They drew it.
Yeah, but I mean, again, back in the day, it's like, oh, you hand over the physical piece, like, all right, they scan.
Oh, that's that. Yeah.
Yeah, they have to do their process, and that's it. Like, there was no resale value in it because there weren't that level of fans. Like, there were children.
Yeah.
Like children, like, what are you gonna do? Like,
frame it, put it
lunch,
in their
get their lunch money for your Fantastic Four page, like,
right.
So the rules kind of changed, and the way we kind of view ownership over properties has changed. So it creates a bit of a generational divide, and also just like a split between the mom and the dad as well, where the mom was like, you sacrifice so much to do this, like making comics is hard.
Yeah.
And
not just on you.
Yeah, on the whole family. Like, he missed out on kind of his kids' upbringing a little bit.
Yeah.
So public domain is kind of about the family dynamics, but also we're dealing with this corporation, the comic publisher, Singular Press, and the people that run it, and also like the writer who's had more success in life than the artist, which as a writer, great.
But as an artist,
come on, I'm really torn.
Yeah.
I'm hoping people who like myself on Sex Criminals and who enjoy my work elsewhere will come on board for this. I think an interesting view of the dynamics of these kind of properties and culture.
Yeah.
And we have twists and turns too. Like, I wanted to make sure we actually have cliffhangers that hopefully kind of hook the reader and bring them along.
Yeah, it's addictive. It reads really fast. That's the nature, I think, of the art and the writing. It's just, it really flows really quickly. There's I'm nervous. Like, every time I read it, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm waiting for the wife to leave or just like blow up, because she's just this cauldron. She's just, you could tell she's like a coiled spring. And the son, like his whole, like his colored opinion about his like, does he really give a shit about his father's like rights, or is it because he's a piece of shit himself, like, and he's drowning in debt?
He's got his own issues, and that's kind of the fun thing, to be able to explore stuff that isn't just about the comics.
Exactly. No, it's a real character study. So
I'm enjoying making it. It's just it takes too long.
But I got this
body hurts.
But I got Daredevil and Batman going on.
I know. These are, I mean, I can't complain. These are,
it's all like, great.
Amazing problems to have. But also, I'm just like, I'm also drawing. Here's a exclusive. I'm drawing a 4-page Daredevil thing.
Ooh.
For the upcoming anniversary issue.
That's awesome.
Anniversary issue 2.
Yeah.
But that's just like, oh fuck, I agreed to that so long ago. I'm just like, okay, like I got to draw public domain pages because that's got to go to the printer. But like I've got Daredevil pages to draw, but I also got to write Daredevil because I got 2 artists on that thing, and Batman, and like, oh god, there's Newburn, and there's Stillwater, and oh my god, there's also All Nighter.
Yeah.
Oh, Katara, and oh Christ.
Yeah. Prolific creator Chip Zdarsky ready to jump out a window. But no.
I'm so tired, Sal.
I can tell, man.
I'm so tired.
Well, I understand. Every once in a while we'll talk and you'll be like, I'm in the woods. And I'm like, why does he go into the woods? Now I understand. It's just, you're just running. Just constantly.
Yeah, I'm in the woods in a lot of ways.
Yeah. In the weeds.
A lot of ways, yeah.
But, yeah. So I'm going to hit you with some weird bullshit because I started doing this more recently. I was grabbing some old Wizard magazines and I was looking through, and they used to have that full page. And one of the big losses of Wizard not being around is that they don't get to do these little creator profiles where they ask these fun little questions, and you never get to see anybody ask them. And they're so stupid and they're so innocuous. But people are more keyed in. Creators are more keyed into being fun or to answering these questions in a more fun way, or at the very least. Well, who knows? I'm not asking for your tight five. I'm just saying, like, but I'm just lifting questions that the Wizard has asked of their creators in that last page where they were like, "Here's a little quick profile."
Yeah, copyright infringement. That's what they call that.
Fuck them. They don't have, they don't even have the name Wizard anymore.
That's true.
But what is your favorite comic of all time, if you have one?
Oh man, I mean, favorite comic story and art together would be Daredevil Born Again.
I knew it.
I know Miller Mazzucchelli. Like it's I don't think there's anything better.
No, well, I think you've argued personally that it's a perfect comic book, right? Like it's one of those. Yeah, it really is. And like, I think maybe because of writing Daredevil, but I think a close second is like Nascenti Romita Jr. Daredevil, because like there's so much fun and like big ideas in there. That Christmas issue.
Oh, the Christmas issue is amazing. There's so many. The Human Torch issue is that might be my single favorite comic. Issue 261, the one where Daredevil's like missing, and Human Torch is gonna like protect Hell's Kitchen. And he wears that shirt that says "bad" on it. Yeah, it's such a good issue. I genuinely love it. And like Nascenti writes Human Torch so well, and also just does this thing with the first page. It's like a splash page of his face, just as he's like starting to go on fire. Yeah. And the thought process of like, is this the time? Is this the time when I go to flame on and I burn alive? Oh my God. Like it's just like that insight. There's that split second. Like at the time, nobody was doing that kind of, I don't know, weird, introspective kind of superhero stuff. And she followed like Frank Miller. Yeah. Like that's insane too. Oh, I know. Yeah. Anyways, I love, and Nascenti is so fun. I got to meet her at now defunct con, East Coast Comic Con, and she's so cool. And I got her to sign my Spiderman, the one where he dies and he goes to like the Valhalla of superheroes and he's met by Thanos. And that's so cool. And I remember as a kid, I'm reading this at like 8 years old, and I'm like, what the like, and it's one issue, too, like boom, that's it. She's so great, and like I've met her a couple of times now, and I got to interview her for the Save Daredevil people, their YouTube channel. But the first time I met her was at a convention, the one in Columbus, the CXC, and it's one of the only times in my life I've been nervous meeting a person, just because she means so much to me, and she was like really cool. I don't think I was writing Daredevil at the time either. And then I met her at a Marvel party at a bar in New York. And I think she was talking to like Danny Fingerith or something. Like it was just like, I'm like, oh wow, they were together at that convention I was at. Oh really? Yeah. It's like because they were editors at the same time at Marvel, and it's always just weird, just like all of a sudden talking to people at a party who like you knew their names as a kid. Yeah. But oh man, that was amazing just talking to her, because she just started talking about like how Steve Ditko would come into the office to drop off pages. And then she'd just get into like these, hour-long discussions with him over politics.
Yeah.
And like, in the sense he's like, classic New York lefty, and like,
yep. And
Ditko is not.
No, he's like an Ayn Randian.
Yeah. So that, I would kill to be a fly on the wall for those talks.
Right?
Yeah, like just amazing.
What's your favorite work of your own?
Oh boy!
I know you got to pat yourself on the back. It's gonna be hard.
Oh no, it's just there's so many great ones to choose from. It changes a lot. Like man, that's a really hard one.
Right.
I'm of my writing. I'm pretty fond of. There's the issue of Daredevil where Wilson Fisk kills the guy at the dinner party.
Yeah.
Like I'm really happy with how that turned out, and it's like a two-parter, and I felt like it really kind of summed up his character and this journey.
Fair.
But yeah, art-wise, like. Oh man, it'd be an issue of Sex Criminals. I don't know which one.
Yeah.
There are a few spreads and pages that I'm really proud of, but like I think with art, like it's hard to be like that's the issue,
right?
When really like every issue's got like
a moment,
a page or a moment that I'm like, oh yeah, I nailed that. I fucked up everything else.
Right.
The easy one is Spectacular Spider-Man 310, the one that I wrote and drew.
Yeah.
I felt like that was like my challenge for myself, and it turned out well, and people really seem to still like it, which is nice. Yeah. Like, I think I put in my Substack last week, like the New York Times did a story on like the top Spider-Man stories over the last 60 years, and that was on there. I'm like, that's wild. Yeah. Wild for two reasons, like being in the New York Times, and also for a Spider-Man story is surreal to say the least.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What is a superpower you'd like to have?
Right now, the Sex Criminals one of stopping time. Yeah, that would help me a lot.
Favorite toy as a kid?
All the Secret Wars ones. That's what got me into comics. Really, like I bought Secret Wars issue 7, which I have behind me, signed by Shooter and Zek. One of the only single issues I own. And like, I forget how I discovered. It must have been an ad in the comic that there were toys based on this comic.
Oh yeah.
And so it became the hunt because it was so hard to find things at that time.
Yeah.
Like we didn't go into the big city often, so there's like a Toys R Us there, and like maybe this is the time I'll finally get Dr. Octopus or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're cheap and they're junky and they all have shields for some reason.
Yep.
but oh man, like. Having physical versions of those characters was really satisfying. As a kid, I had a bunch of different types of Spider-Man figures and stuff because those seemed a bit more, easy to come by. There was one in the 70s, just to sound like an old man, that like actually had a web that you could hook up onto a thing, and then you just slowly pull them up. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I remember seeing an ad for that, like because I got into comics like old back issues, and when I say old, I mean obviously, when you were a kid.
Yeah, ancient back issues. Did they not crumble to dust in your hands?
It was interesting. I thankfully had a preservationist uncle who took care of it for me, but I was able to look at it through glass, like the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
But no, I remember seeing the ad for that toy and being like, "What a cool toy!" Because back in the day, like our options for like superhero movies and toys was shit.
Yeah,
it was like really limited. I remember I had a friend who had Secret Wars toys, and I wanted them so bad because that Hobgoblin figure was so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that mechanical Spider-Man toy, I saw it. I saw an ad for it, black and white, like really poorly Xeroxed.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want that so bad. And then I literally, like maybe 2 weeks ago, saw a YouTube video of it in demonstration, and I'm like,
really?
That sucks.
Oh yeah, of course it actually sucks.
No, but as a kid, I would have been mesmerized. I would have loved it.
Yeah. So awesome.
And what's your favorite toy now?
Look, this is going to be controversial, but as a grown-ass man with responsibilities, I do not have toys. I have one. I have one. It's not a toy. It's just like it's like a
a little body pose. So
it's like a little body pose, like kind of figure out some poses. But even
great.
then, it just kind of sucks. Like there's no definition on it. Like I still got to figure out how muscles work.
Right. Yeah.
It's funny because like, well, I mean, okay, like on my wall here, I've got a Captain America shield.
That's awesome. There you go.
But that was because like my dream as an adult was to go paintballing with a Captain America shield, because me and my buddies would go paintballing once a year.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna spend some money, and I, spent some money. I got like this plastic Captain America shield, and I took it with me into the forest for paintball, and it was one of the funnest days of my life. There's nothing more satisfying than running through the woods and holding up a Captain America shield and feeling and hearing those paintballs go pop, 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 pop.
Yes.
Oh, I loved it. I would throw it at trees. I don't know, like it's on my wall. It's all beat to hell just from that one day.
That's awesome.
But yeah, like I've always really loved the design of that. So that's the only comic thing that isn't a book that's in my studio. And I remember years ago, the paper I used to work at did a story on me. I think around the time Kaptara issue 1 was coming out back in the day. And, a reporter that I kind of knew, he came by my studio and, interviewed me. And then when the article came out, he's just like, so I was there in Chip Zdarsky's studio, as you can imagine it, filled with comics and knickknacks and toys and models. And I'm like,
what are you talking about?
Motherfucker, I don't have a single one of those things. I was so mad. I don't think there's been anything in that article that's maybe angrier than that.
Than being accused of having a bunch of nerd stuff in your house.
I know. And it's like, and there's no offense to anyone who like loves that stuff. Like I just, it fills my gut with anxiety.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's like as I get older and I want to pare down the stuff in my life, I'm just like, oh, more stuff. Oh my God. Oh, it's just plastic. It's just more plastic. Oh God, it's plastic shit from when you were a kid. Oh God, it's like, it's for some reason it just like sends me spiraling.
That's fair.
It was one of the discussions, like when we were doing Sex Criminals, and it was like really taking off. Like we talked about merchandise. I think we did like fingernail press-ons, Sex Criminals fingernail press-ons, which, fine. We did like tights that look like The Quiet, and but like anything else, I was like, no, I don't. Well, I just don't even want to produce. I just didn't want to
like add to the junk.
Add to the junk. Like I feel guilt over. Like I don't really do variants anymore on my stuff.
I know that's true. Although you did announce your I think it's
Substack.
Batman. Yeah, your Substack variant.
Yeah, and because that's partly because it is part of my deal with Substack. Like those subscribers, I told them I'd be doing this, so I got to follow through on that. And it's like I'm only printing 300 copies of those. Yeah. But like sometimes you just sit there and you do the math of how many trees it takes to make a comic, and you're like, oh shit, that's a lot. That's a lot. Like 100 trees, like to make an issue of Batman, like creating more product like that to put in the world, especially when it's just going to be a speculator item,
right?
Where no one's even going to open it up. Like all that paper that's inside that is actually useless.
Plastic. Yeah.
Like you might as well just print the cover itself.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which shit, maybe that's what else they're doing.
Yeah, just covers, just basically posters.
Yeah, but like, well, it'll fold over. Like you'll pick it up and be like, oh, there's actually nothing in here.
You're like, there's a QR code inside.
That's a great idea. Yeah, right? for the digital version.
Exactly. You get your cover, you open it up.
Digital.
Put it on the back. You get nothing in the inside. It's just white.
Nothing on the inside. Just haha, sucker.
Well, because like you weren't gonna open it anyway. It's just a mirror on the inside. It's like.
Yeah. Because I mean, there are people out there who like to buy variants just because they love the art. Yeah, that's. And I get that, but like, really, the dominant force is like the kind of speculator market, figuring what's hot, what's not. And all the power to them if that's how you want to collect. Like, sure, people have mouths to feed, and if they think they can game the system, who am I to stop them? But like, myself personally. Kind of the more stuff in the world that is a direct result of me existing just fills me with way too much guilt these days.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a wholly wizard question, so I apologize in advance. But what's the one? What's the last time? The last time you went trick or treating, what did you dress as?
The last time, probably the Jack Nicholson Joker.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. I mean, I've had adult Halloween costumes, but that's the last time as a kid. I think I was like grade 8 at that point. Probably still a little too old for it, but I wanted the candy.
That fills me with shame. Last time I went trick or treating, I think I was a senior in high school.
I respect that. Like, it's funny, every year when we're in town and it's Halloween, we're on our porch. Like, it's a big Halloween neighborhood where we're at.
Nice, good, that's cool.
And like when it's the teens that come up, just like in their hockey jersey or whatever, and a bit of makeup, I love it. And like my wife is just like, oh, I get them the candy. I'm like, are you kidding? Like, the amount of embarrassment and shame that they're feeling at this moment, so they can just get some candy.
Yeah,
it's worth it. It needs to be rewarded. That needs to be rewarded.
I love it.
I love it.
Yeah. No. What was it? What's one question you always want to be asked that nobody ever does?
Oh God! Almost every interview ends with that. Like, I know.
Do they really?
Yeah. For news websites, like, if there's a question I haven't asked that you want to be asked, you just ask yourself the question. No. But it's very funny that maybe they all read that same wizard piece back in the day.
Yeah.
And it's infected their brain. I guess the only question I want to be asked is, how are you, Chip?
Oh.
How are you?
Well, how are you, buddy?
None of your fucking business.
Fair. Okay. Hard hitting.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if you had any plans for more creator-owned work, but I think we got the answer, right? It's fuck no. Just no more. I'm working too hard as it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say right now, like, we're close to finalizing a deal to do a season 3 of All Nighter, the book for Comixology and Dark Horse, which has been a ton of fun. And Stillwater, we've still got another 5-6 issues to go on that one. Captara, chugging along. We got 3 more issues on that.
Nice.
What else we got going on? Oh, I got a secret kind of image book that I'm working on with a few friends. Yeah, it's gonna be really cool.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to that. Here's an exclusive. Working on. I hesitate to call it a spin-off, but something similar to Public Domain. That kind of that kind of ties in a little bit to it. I'm working on that with an amazing artist that I've worked with before.
Nice.
And that'll hopefully be an image book as well. I think that's it for the creator-owned stuff right now, which is a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And good old Public Domain.
Yeah, which is coming out in physical. Check it out. What's the release date for Public?
I believe it's June 26th, 29th, somewhere in that week.
Yeah, because I know that Final Order Cutoff, we've missed it. It's over, right? Like,
it's over. So this interview is useless to me. Just useless.
So I'll send you a Venmo of what I owe you for the show.
Yeah, but the order cutoff came and went, and I got the orders in, and people in the dozens are going to be reading this book.
Oh, great. Tens and tens of fans are going to be loving this book.
Tens of fans. No, I mean, honestly, like the response has been really, really nice. Like, I was a little worried about it, only in the sense that, like, we're previously publishing elsewhere.
Yeah.
There's no variants except for 300 copies for me.
Right.
Which is like kind of antithetical to like an image number 1 these days.
Yeah.
So I was pleasantly surprised at that the numbers were higher than even some of my other image stuff. So I'm just like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, it's very exciting, man. I'm thrilled to read more of your creator-owned work, and of course, your run on Batman. We didn't really get a chance to talk much about Batman, but that's fine. You know what? They're gonna read it, and you know what? Everyone's gonna bug you for it anyway. Like, they're gonna be like, what's the secret for failsafe, and how much do you love Tim Drake?
I love him so much.
I knew it. Great question. Let's spread that out over 10 minutes. But
look, if you've got another Batman question, you can ask. Like, I'll give you another 10 minutes.
Nah, that's it. No, I mean, not really. I'm just really excited. I mean, I know that you weren't expecting to get Jorge Jimenez on the book again. I know that he's adapting his style to like fit the tone, which is really cool.
Yeah. The pages are gorgeous. Like, he's unstoppable. Like, I think he's halfway through drawing issue 129 right now. Like, he's just like boom, 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 boom. Like,
damn. I saw that cover.
Oh, the new one? Yeah.
Holy shit. I'm wild. Like, that's a cover.
It's wild, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fun issue. Like, it's so action-packed. That's been really fun, too. Just like, Daredevil is kind of a slow burn. Like, I mean, we basically did 20 issues of him not in costume. Just like, they're like, true. The guilt. Which, a lot of people came on that journey with me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Whereas, I didn't want to like be like, oh, the Daredevil guy's doing Batman, so it's gonna be the same thing. Like Batman, like, oh, the guilt. I mean, he will feel guilt, but but I really wanted to like just play to Jorge's strengths and make it just actiony and lots of characters and big locations, and he's killing it. He's so good. Yeah.
So okay, I have a question for you. This is my most self-indulgent one. I was thinking about this recently. I've talked about it a lot. You actually were on an episode where you and Josh Williamson were going to be pitching ideas, and that went out the window, but became a way better episode as a result. But did you see Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, the movie?
No, I did not.
Okay, you're all the better for it. But the movie, it's this thing that exists, and people are talking about how we can't get crossovers anymore. Every time that you hear you can't get crossovers anymore, somebody said you throw a rock, you hit a fan who yells no because the mouse. And then you watch Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, which has Batman in it, and a bunch of other characters, and Sony characters, and like Hasbro characters, and they're not like 25% more distinct characters. Like, they are straight up like the My Little Pony run through the screen, like this through the screen. Like, there's all this stuff in there, and it's clear to me that the truth of the matter is that crossovers can and could happen if the right creators want it bad enough. Like, if they'll please their creators if they just ask for it in a way where it's like, I want to do this, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I would say that something like Chip and Dale. Here's how something like Chip and Dale happens. Disney pays a bunch of money.
Yeah.
To have Batman pop up in the thing, and Warner Brothers has final say over his appearance in that thing. So that's different than like a DC Marvel crossover.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I know. But that's like the rationale people have is because those corporate overlords would never allow it. And I'm saying if they're allowing it up there, that they'd probably be more open to the idea.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think right now, like, it's interesting because we're at a phase where, like I said before, the companies are probably more
like
amicable, at least in the editorial side of things. They are more entrenched in building empires separately.
Right. Oh, sure.
Because of the Warner Brother Discovery, Disney of it all.
Yeah.
The problem is just, is it worth it for them?
Right.
Because like, who gets the money? How do you do the profit sharing on that? How do you determine creators, editors?
You don't want
final say on stuff like if you read like the Beats kind of oral history of the first JLA Avengers go, like. And that's during a time when it was a lot easier because they weren't owned by parent companies. So once you involve the lawyers, like Batman just popping up on the thing, it's a simple exchange of cash for using the character. Here, it's
a whole other ballgame.
How do we make it so financially it's a bonanza enough for both parties to justify the resources?
Yeah,
because you're talking like probably 3 to 4 times the amount of manpower.
Well, true. Yeah,
put into something like that.
You're allocating editors that could be editing your book instead of editing someone else's, or
who are reading it a lot more carefully than they would just like one of my standard issues of Daredevil. Like if it's a Batman Daredevil thing, then it's just like
it's being scrutinized. It's under like a lot of microscopes. It's a lot of man hours.
It's bigger than an event book, and you're only making half the money on it.
Right. Because but half money is better than no money.
Half money is better than no money, but it's also like, well why would we use our writer and artist on this when we could use them on a thing we own fully? And there's the other problem of everything that Marvel and DC puts out right now is under a microscope in terms of turning it into something else.
Right. Yeah.
You put out Batman Daredevil, it's like, okay.
That's just what it was, and that's the end of it.
Maybe at one point in the future you could have like a Batman Daredevil movie based on it. But
right, but no one's thinking in that term.
Yeah, like I'm just spitballing and throwing out like the devil's advocate reasons why this couldn't happen. But the positive thing is that because of what they did to do the limited print run of Justice League Avengers for George, that I think that's opened the doors. Because that was always kind of some feedback I got, which is like, well, like, step one is reprinting the old stuff.
Exactly.
Because if they can work out the legal kinks behind doing that and doing like a nice hardcover of
JLA Avengers or the DC Marvel crossover, or
like amalgam stuff, or the classics was like Hulk and Batman.
Yeah, the stuff that like no one has a claim to anymore, like where it's like that's over. Like that's the thing where I'm like, I feel like JLA Avengers, they worked that out. I mean, it was 2003 when that book came out. It used to be solicited on DC's website for years. Like it was like, I feel like that there's a contract already in place that explains it all right there that they said.
Oh, no. I mean, like,
oh, no.
No, like, I mean, the world's changed so much that contract is null and void. Like they'd have to start from scratch on it, I think. Just because like the world has changed.
Yeah.
The means of selling the books, the means of reading them have changed as well.
Sure. The distribution model. Yeah, that's true.
I will say though, like, I mean, I'm fighting for it.
Yeah.
Like I definitely have conversations with people at both companies about because I not to be like the guy, but I'm in a very good position to do a Batman Daredevil.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, and I'm not trying to push you in one direction or another, but I'm saying like because of the cachet of you and the fact that you have had continuity of both books and such, like one could argue, it's like Chip's really getting noisy about this Daredevil Batman crossover, and then like somebody like Scott or Josh or anybody goes like, yeah, and actually I really want to do this, that, and the other, and they're like, oh Jesus, these people are really clamoring for something, and they're willing to do it for like scale,
Well, no, I'm not willing to do it for scale.
well, maybe not you, but
yeah. Like, I mean, they know that everyone's clamoring to do these things.
Yeah,
like, and that's not going to sway them.
No,
like,
it's not enough.
What'll sway them is it worth the amount of money we're going to spend on the lawyers to actually figure it out.
Yeah,
which I think it could be. I think if they are like friendlier now, they can figure it out.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, did you ever see the leaked Sony like Spider-Man document?
Oh, of all the characters?
All the characters and all like the Peter Parker can and cannot do these things. Like, having seen that shit, I'm like, okay, yeah, like that is so much more daunting. Like it's like saying you're gonna jump off the high dive and then actually getting up there and looking down and being like, oh shit. Like,
yeah, the world of contracts and
scary as hell.
Yeah, it's funny. I was listening to an interview. Was it that cartoonist Kayfabe?
Yeah.
I wanted to check out an episode because I never actually listened to it. Like, made my way through half of the Chris Claremont episode, which he talks about, back in the day when he was doing Marvel Team Up, and they were like, "Oh, Saturday Night Live is really cool right now. Like, we should do the Not Ready for Primetime Players." And it was a phone call and like really quickly done through like some quick contracts, and then they went and partied with them, and like we're just not in that world anymore.
Yeah,
where you can just do it. Yeah. It'd be great if it was.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like the comics world is so deceptively insular and small. Like we assume, like, oh well, because of the turnaround of a comic and because of like the nature of like the readership and the size and the money, it's like, oh, oh, well, you know, and you can just do this, that, and the other thing. And it's just, you know, no, it's just
no,
like
I mean,
any other media empire. Like
it's small, like in terms of like the publishing side of things.
Yeah.
And like the eyes and the companies that are above them are such that even when you own the things, it's hard. Like, how many people have probably pitched Marvel the idea of a Marvel Star Wars crossover? They are both owned by Disney. Do you think that's going to happen?
I do think that's going to happen, but it's not going to happen anytime soon.
No.
I know it's not. I know an editor who pitched it originally, who used to work at Marvel, who was like, "Here's your pitch," and they were like, "No," like, not no because we think it's bad. Just we're never going to do that.
I pitched it back in the day. I sent an email to my editor. I'm like, here's 2 words that are going to make us rich.
Right. Kylo
Ren. I was just laughed out of my email program. My email program just shut down from the hilarious gifts that came my way. Like I mean, and I think they probably get those emails all the time. And it's like, those are owned by this. Like, they're all owned by Disney.
You own that. You could do that. Yeah.
It should be as simple as like one lawyer being like, "Oh yeah, we own it. Do it."
Oh, right. And it maybe, you know, I feel like because with the fan community going, what I don't understand is when the fan community goes, "No, I know it better," and they're just like, "No," like I'm like, dude, you're already starting at 0, and you don't even have a stake in the company. Like, how about yes, please, and then see if they tell you no, you know?
Yeah.
But sometimes they do need like just a lawyer to go like, "Yeah, you're good."
Yeah.
You know, but like it just, and it's, well, how many times have you ever asked anyone to do the simplest thing that just requires them to like move their wrist a little bit, and it's like, they're never going to do it. I'm never going to. And so like, all you got to do is email so-and-so. I know him personally. Just send him a text. No.
Like the other thing is, and I don't want to go on an anti-lawyer rant, but a lawyer's job when they are on retainer for a company like Marvel is not to produce great comics. It is to protect them from any possibility of a lawsuit of anything. So like whenever I'll send through a cover sketch that like maybe pokes fun at like a DC thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Just like so subtle, and the lawyer's like, "No, you have to get rid of that." I'm like, but this is great.
Right.
And like they're not going to sue over this because it's not even like, doesn't have any, you know, identifying markers or whatever.
Exactly.
But no lawyer's gonna be like, "You know what? Yeah, all right, you're good." Like they're just not, because there's nothing to gain for them from that.
Right. It's just
because if something happened and it became a lawsuit, then they're fired.
Then they look bad. Yeah, that's true.
They're gone. So that's, you know, there's art versus commerce, but there's also art versus lawyers.
Fair. Yeah. And then you got all 4 when it comes to anything like that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, thanks for the insight, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's insight, but it's like, it's just
no, it is, because it contributes to the conversation, because I feel like, you know, if we don't talk about things that we want or that we've had before, that people in today's world don't understand or remember or recognize, or they just take for granted because they've never had it in their lives, that it should never or can never exist, then we're just stuck. You know, but like, you need people to be like, "Yo, like, let's have this." I mean, and you saw, like, I mean, what was it? Donnie's Thor run had the Justice League all die, like, for us on one page, and like, I can imagine that being a conversation that was like,
it's as much a conversation as like, you know, Jason Aaron's, you know, dealing with Squadron Supreme and his book, that they're all analogs, like.
Right, but they own those. Like, that's, at least those are characters that, like, I own the Squadron Supreme, and I can publish that book. But no, but they clearly are.
Yeah, and like, and DC did that as well. They had their whole remember during the Superman Batman, was it Jeff Loeb and McGinnis? Like, they had like Marvel analogs in there.
Oh, and Morrison did it all the time.
Yeah. Getting harder to do, but still not impossible.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. Anyway, but Chip, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. And
thanks for having me.
I'm going to drop a link in the description, or at least in the comments, for the Substack, which you check out. Out of many of your options for Substack, this one's not a bad one to choose because it's
not a bad one to choose.
It's not a bad one to choose.
I'm putting that on my.
Thank you.
My business card.
Not a bad one to choose. I was actually going to go further and be like, this is one of them. But no, but it has, there's humor and wit and free comics. How could you go wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
But congratulations and good luck on Batman. I can't wait. I don't know what is, in theater, we say break a leg. Is there a comic equivalent to good luck? Like where they say, like, I hope you fail and die. Is there like a break a leg for comics where it's like, just so you don't jinx it?
I don't know, break a Wednesday? I guess it's Tuesday for...
Yeah. Bend your spine, maybe.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, God. Crack your spine, yeah.
Crack your spine. All right. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We'll see you guys next time.